Okay, I think that should work. It looks like it's connecting. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. This is Kelly Nazat, and we are finishing a 13-week meditation journey through kind of a 360 view of our lives and of the elements of our experience, based on the alchemy of change and transformation. And so we're at, should be the 13th week, which is the fifth element, which is the soul element, the ether element. And so we've gone through the primary four elements, and the fire, sorry. Is that okay? Thank you. You can come over here if you want. Okay. So we've made it through the four elements, and the fire representing our vision, something fiery within us that's wanting to come out in the world. Good morning, Natalie. We've gone through the water realm, which gets more into beyond vision, gets into something deeper, more meaningful. Thank you. It's good to be here. So the water realm represents something more feminine, more inner, more beautiful in terms of what's coming from within us that wants to be born into the world. And we went through the earth realm, which is getting into how we ground our experience. Good afternoon, David. Good to see you here. And we've made it through the air realm now. And you know, each of the realms represents something vital in our experience. And as we look 360 at our lives, it's an important thing to be able to take the time to focus on each of these aspects of our lives. Our ancestors lived by this. They understood being in harmony with nature, being in harmony with the elements, with the seasons, and with the Tao, as they say in the Taoist tradition. And it's one of the things that we certainly are increasingly challenged with our modern lives, where we can pretty much live in the same temperature day and night. We can, good morning, Mark. We can, set our thermostats to a perfect temperature. We pretty much can almost ignore the seasons to some degree. Of course, that's only relatively true. If you're living in the north or the south, you know that's not completely true. But we've learned to adapt and to create a world where we could stay up all night with good lighting. We can do all these wonderful things and pretty much ignore or move beyond the elements. And there's some wonderful aspects to that. But one of the things that I've noticed in my practice on a more psychospiritual level is that it's easy for us to fixate on a particular element of our experience, whether it's the air realm where we're more either in our heads or completely bound up in relational dynamics, or we're in the earth realm where we're dealing with physical issues, embodiment issues, or even organizational issues like trying to get our lives together. Or we're dealing in the water realm where we're dealing with emotional issues or inner transformational issues, or are trying to find some inner depth in our lives. And also we could easily get caught up in the fire realm, many of us, where we're caught up in this fiery expression of some vision or chasing some vision like Icarus does, So the fifth element, being the ether element, is where everything sort of spirals into the center. All of the elements are to awaken to support that single fifth element in the center, which is the soul, which is the spirit body. And everything that we're doing is in service to that awakening of the God within. And as Sadhguru talks about the four yogis being the four elements, that together they come together and they awaken the God within. This is the idea behind this work is as you go through each of the elements, they're all one, right? They're all part of one experience. But quite often we can find ourselves getting a little bit fixated on one aspect of our lives or another. So there's many different sides and many different advantages to being more mindful of these areas, especially those areas that you're least comfortable with, those areas that you feel like you're a bit out of your element in. First of all, just by recognizing that there are elements and recognizing the elements that you're most uncomfortable with already does something. There's some great power in just being aware of these aspects of our lives. That's why meditation is so powerful. It augments our everyday experience with our incredible minds that are gifted at imagining things that aren't necessarily pushing us in the world around us, that aren't obvious in the world. We can go into these subtle realms and explore them and develop ourselves in them without having to be contextually cued by something happening in the outer world, right? So, where the tendency might be to live in this world and live in this lifetime constantly waiting for something to goad us into action or to push our buttons or take us out of our element so we are forced to kind of develop ourselves. We're at a point, I believe, beyond just needing to break the fixation of our specialties, whether you're more intellectual or more emotionally based or more somatically based or more spiritually based. The idea is to be well-rounded, synthesizing all the elements. But even more importantly is to kind of spiral into that center point where we are distilling the elements so we come to a finer essence. So we're not necessarily moving so broadly out into the world and so deeply into the inner worlds that we are constantly, on the edge of spiraling out somewhere. The essence of this work is sort of like if you're going this circle and you're going way out there, it's sort of like a sine wave going really high and really low, really up into the fire and air realm and really deep into the water and earth realm. There is great value and importance in being able to go deep and great value and importance in being able to reach higher levels of meta-awareness or meta-consciousness. However, in the day-to-day world, all of that comes into this sort of middle path, right? Where you're not going so high and so low, but you're coming into this place where it feels like you're accessing, and you are indeed accessing all of the elements in this moment without grand gestures, without hyper-reality, without the need for these hyper-rituals and the rest. You can do it in a breath, you can do it in a conversation, you can do it in a moment. You can access a state of consciousness. So the whole vision of this work is the more you become aware of these elements on your own terms, the more you're aware of how you experience them, how you can experience them, what tools you have, what meditations you have, what experiences you have that support the balancing in all of these elements, the more likely you are to, in everyday life, have this depth of experience without having to remove yourself from the moment. And certainly you can see that with others that have this depth, right? Or have this expansive state of being. In any simple moment, they just exude this spaciousness, this connection with the elements, and this connection with the Tao. So that's ultimately what this work is all coming to. The exploration of all these areas of our experience are really to come into this central place where, in the Taoist tradition, they call it the Wu-Chi, this place where it almost feels like stillness, and it is a place of stillness. This place that you get to when all the elements are in alignment in your life, it feels like effortless living. And as you notice this place of connection, this toroidal connection with heaven and earth, and all of the centers of your being within, the stillness is like a gyroscopic connection with the swirling, flowing movement of the universe, of the seasons, of a day, of a moment. And when you find that place, you are in accord and resonance with something much bigger than our culture, much bigger than the state we're in as a country or a culture or a people or even as a neighborhood. There is this transcendent access point we get to when we find that sweet water in the middle of our own nature that we can always come back to. So all of the work about going around this 360 view of our lives, coming into harmony, finding our place in all of the elements is simply to spiral in to that central place where there is this stillness. And in that place it awakens that God within you, that guides you, that directs you, that supports you, that emanates from you and fractals into the world around you, and that creates what they would call heaven on earth. What that means in some ways is simply that the world around you seems like a place that you're in resonance with, right? It's like being in an environment with music that resonates with something in you. When you find that place and the world just seems to be in harmony with something inside of you, then you feel more, not only more at peace in it, but you feel more a place in it, more at peace in it. And in that resonance is where magic happens. This is where the synchronicities occur. This is the whole game, is simply coming into resonance with your true nature within, so that that resonance is also in harmony with the world around you. So far from being simply a self-help process about being about you and getting yourself in harmony with yourself, there is no coming into harmony with yourself without coming into harmony with the world around you. And which is, you know, a great paradox, but it's an important one. And the more we're connected with something greater than just our environment, you know. So let's say you're trying to get in resonance with your culture. It's an important thing to do. But let's say your culture is a little insane at the moment, or it seems perpetually increasingly insane. Tuning into that might not be your best option. Sure, you might be able to survive it. There is some certain evolutionary reasons why you want to be tuned into your culture. But let's say that's where you stop it. You know, just at this local level where you're tuned into your tribe, you're tuned into your culture. You can survive that, but what's this next level? Let's say your culture, your tribe is a little insane, and then the tribes outside of that are more in harmony, right? Wouldn't it be nice to be able to tap into that greater harmony so that you can be more locally in tune, in resonance with your tribe, but also be tapped into something more resonant than what you're experiencing all around you? So in the air realm, and certainly in the ether realm, it's about accessing something higher, something more transcendental, something much more collective on a broader scale that allows us to tap into this place of resonance. And I love the Taoists because they really do get into the imagery of it. And I think the imagery is so vital for us because everything we imagine is everything we experience. So they imagine the entire universe spiraling over us and through us. And as we call that down, it's almost like the Wi-Fi connection is being called in to reboot and to recalibrate who we are, right? And so just by imagining that energy, that flow, that light bathing over you, and telling it what you want from it, saying, look, bring me into resonance, reboot, recalibrate, upgrade my operating system, whatever is needed so that I'm in resonance with this bigger picture, this bigger world that I'm a part of here on this planet. And calling up that wisdom from Mother Earth, flowing up through you like through roots of light, spiraling up through you, allowing Mother Earth to inform, enlighten, and empower you to be tuned into, to be a part of this planet in this moment, at this moment in your life, is also another calling, another awakening for every cell of your being, for all the parts of your being, all the different levels of your being, to come into resonance together, to focus on one thing, which is in the heart, to be connected with something higher and to be connected with something deeper and richer from Mother Earth. And that place is the ether place, right in the fiery heart area There is a soul where the stillness resides that is the magical fusion, the synthesis, the sort of omega point of like going through an apple core. This is the center of the apple where seeds of new ways come through. In this place is where all new things begin, all the new cells, all the new ways, all the new evolutions in our consciousness and our ways of being in the world. This is where it all comes into connection. And it does so by virtue of the fact of this enlightenment, both from Mother Earth and from the heavens, so that we can be in resonance. Good morning, or good afternoon, Carlos, from New York City. I miss you, man. I hope to see you. I'm back in the area, so we have to get together. It'd be awesome to see you. So, last week we had the air realm, Air 3, about high-level communication, about taking our ability to relate to each other and communicate with each other to a codified level, which means simply to a level where we create lexicons and systems and ways of behaving with each other's rules and laws and all that stuff come out of that. It's an interesting place to be because it's taking our ability to communicate to something higher, right? To something that we can then share with our tribe, with other people, to say these are ways that we can communicate with each other to reach a higher plane of being in relationship to each other. So Air 3 is really asking us to rise to this higher place. In astrology, it's held by, I believe, Gemini and Mercury. Gemini is an incredible, it's like the two sticks facing each other. A good Gemini, I suppose, is somebody that acts as a good sacred mirror for another person. And they're looking to hold space and say, I see you, and here's what I see, and I'm reflecting it back as cleanly and as clear as I can, communicate it. And Mercury, on the other hand, is a great magician who's creating magic, creating worlds with words. Words, or in the beginning was the word. So in this place, our ability to take our communication skills and our willingness to talk with each other and connect with each other in a way that we can then share that with the next 7 generations, right? How is it that we can take what we're learning, take what we're developing, and in this in-between cultural kind of place we're in, what is it that we're picking up that is something worth sharing, that is something worth communicating on a TED Talk sort of thing, right? This is a thing that Air 3 is looking at. How can we take our ability to relate to each other, communicate with each other to its highest possible level so we can create magic and we could share that magic with these young people here, right? So that's where we're at. Now I've missed last week, so we're now in the 13th week, which is the Aether realm. And the Aether realm is just, again, taking it all in, all the elements, and right there in the center, that sweet spot, right? And it's not just a point, it's a field, it's a way. It's like the river. If you've ever, I used to guide river rafting trips, and in the middle of the river is this sweet water. It's a little rip line, and if you take it all the way through, it'll take you down the river. It's a sure bet. But if you want to play, you can always deviate from that sweet water and go off and hit some, really gnarly holes and stuff like that. But you can always come back to the center. So one of the main things I work on with clients is simply find that sweet water for yourself. Where is your sweet water? How do you get there? How can you come back like that? What are your tools that you use at different times of the day or different times in your life or different situations that can bring you into coherence on a spiritual, emotional, physical, and mental level? What do you have? That's a big part of this, is just being aware of what's already there and how it fits to support something bigger. What you've been given from your past, what you're finding now, and what's coming from the future. All of these are training us and guiding us so that we can elevate to another level. Naps are one of my favorite things, man. They're golden, and I learn a lot from them. I pretend to be Edgar Casey and saying, no, I'm really meditating on a very deep level for 20 minutes. Yes, naps are incredible ways of doing it. So we have our ways, right? It's about being conscious of that, about understanding, honoring that, what works for us, and honoring both uniqueness of our own journey and also the inherent connection we have with others around us. We are not solo islands. We are part of a bigger, more collective intelligence. So that gets into this final phase of this, how when we come to this center point, we're really coming to this place where we all are one. And in that place, the illusion of separation ceases to exist. And we start to feel more resonant, more empathically connected. Amaya, good morning. Good evening for you. I'm glad you joined in. So, yeah, that's where we're at. And I love this place. I spent a lot of time in this place. Some people would call it the place of Zen practice, right? The place of being in a resonant place where that Wu Chi point, that stillness point, has taken over. And like Peter Gabriel says, turn up the volume and wipe out the noise, right? So tuning into the heart, tuning into that still point, it's always there. And the more we are tuned into it, the more we are in relationship to that stillness within, that kingdom within, or that God within, that beautiful stillness between heaven and earth that brings the two sides of our nature in harmony with the third part of our nature, our conscious nature. When there is this relationship, this harmonious, resonant connection, there is this stillness and this effortlessness. In a moment, in NLP, right, Amaya, they call it the coach state. Being in coherence would be something that they talk about from heart math. All of them are saying the same thing. When you are in a state of consciousness, it doesn't matter what state of consciousness you're in, it creates your reality. And I believe most of us, I'm certainly speaking for myself, that most of my life was context-driven, right? I was constantly moving around the world trying to find the context that would create the inner experience, the inner state that I was looking for. When, it became blatantly obvious that no matter where you are, there you are. So the big fun of this is that we realize that reality is, in context of everyday life, is more about a state of being. When you get into a certain state of being, the context shifts. When you come into coherence, or as they call it in NLP, coach state, if you're in this state of resonance, you look at the world from a different place and your mind perceives it differently. And it's not just a trick or an illusion, it is reality. You can be in a horrible mood, right? You could be in your bedroom and eating worms and just upset with the world. And when you're in this really crappy place, everything is coherent with that, right? You look at your clothes and you're like, ugh, drab. I can't stand my clothes. And you look at your room, ugh, it's a mess, or whatever it is. You look at your house and your neighborhood and your city and your life and your job, and everything seems to be crappy because you're in a crappy state. And then maybe you get this call from somebody you really, really love, right? Somebody maybe you've known a long time. You pick up the phone, maybe, hopefully. You pick up the phone, and within minutes, you have transcended that crappy mood, and all of a sudden, you're in this really amazing state. You feel lighter, 30 pounds lighter. You say, oh, this is nice. I love this shirt, actually. I love my room. I love my house, and you're enchanted again, and the world shifts within a heartbeat. This is the magic that I'm looking at in my life and in my work. How do we access that state of consciousness for ourselves at any given time? How can we come out of this crappy state and get in a really great state? And do it over and over and over again, because in the happy state, everything seems to be good. Everything seems to be effortless. Everything seems to be magical, enchanted, and worth living for, right? So that's our goal. That's our goal. In the ether state, in the middle of the spiral there, that is a place where it is effortless. Why? Because we have all of the elements supporting us. You have your spiritual, your emotional, your body mind, and your intellectual mind. All of them are in service to this one awareness, this one beingness in this moment. And that's the whole goal of this. That's what the mandala is all about. That's what the medicine wheel is all about, is simply being in coherence with the elements so that you can live in this moment in a good way. Okay, so I think I'm spiraling and saying the same things over and over again. And it's kind of cool because it's worth repeating. But I like it here. We've made it 13 weeks, and we have gone to, this is our second round of this. And it's been an incredible teaching opportunity for me, a learning opportunity, I should say. And I hope that it was helpful for those of you that have made it through on your first round, and for those that have done both rounds, welcome back to the finish line again, which is a joke because there is no finish. However, past this point, as we're building the SoulLab platform, which is going incredibly well, there's a lot of cool things in the air. We have an amazing team of people that are working diligently on helping us to create something so we could connect around the elements, share around the elements, come together and all that good stuff, and help the world come into coherence and based on the wisdom traditions of our ancestors. So that's all coming around. In terms of the in-between places for beyond the 13 weeks, it's simply sharing from any point of the elements. So I would invite all of you to share what's resonating with you. We took the fire, water, earth, and air sort of route, a prescribed route, if you will. But life is more about where we're at in this moment. So if you're finding yourself somewhere in the watery realms of emotions, and you find some really good memes or good talks or good insights around emotional development or dealing with challenging emotions or that sort of thing, I invite you to share it on the page. And so wherever you're at with that, I'll be doing the same thing. So we'll kind of get a sense of how we're moving through the elements on our own terms. Other than that, I thank you guys for being part of this. I thank you for holding space for this. And as it grows, I'll learn more about how to support this process. The more I learn from you guys, the more I'm able to broaden my scope and understand more. And that's, for me, what this is all about. And other than that, I will plan to see you guys. I'll keep SoulLab going. Platform, probably the beta will probably be in the next 4 or 5 months. The actual one, the true site, should probably be a year or so from now or less. So in the meantime, I'll hold this space. And hey, Zach, good afternoon, sir. I look forward to seeing you on Saturday. Zach invited me to do a meditation in New York, and I'm very much looking forward to that. Zach, if you wanted to put the address, I think it's in Manhattan or Brooklyn. I can't remember. But anyway, so I look forward to this, and I hope you guys will continue to tune in and bring some magic to it as you see fit. Oh, good. Yeah, Carlos wants to come to that. I hope you do come. It's Saturday, I think at 2:30 or so. It sounds really great. It's going to be sort of Reiki and all that good stuff. So, oh, good. There we go. There's the event from Zach. So keep in touch, and I'll keep it going, and we will look forward to more soon. I don't know when we'll start another 13-week round. But it shouldn't be too long from now. I'm enjoying it too much, so it should be fairly soon. So again, thank you guys. I hope you enjoy this. This week is the 13th week, so it's all about Aether. It's all about that ephemeral, immortal soul of ours, and how we all come into connection with each other, how we hold a space that unifies all of us in a single breath. So love you guys, and thanks again, and I will be connecting. Bye.